I was just thinking this has to be one of the most photographed shots in the world with the Dome of Salute in the distance there, and how substantial it is. And you sort of think that out of extreme adversity comes something like Venice, because if you think Venice started as a result of the end of the Roman Empire, when all these hordes of Goths and Visigoths were streaming into Italy, murdering, raping, pillaging, and people came to these squelchy islands of sand, clay, just to get out of all the destruction. And gradually, they built up this. They became the largest trading nation in the world. But still, when you look at it, to me, there's just a little air of impermanence about it, because Venice is sinking, the water's rising, but that makes it perfect. I don't like permanence.
At my age, why would I? Even when I was at school, I knew that Venice was sinking into the mud and the sand to eventually end up like Atlantis, lost beneath the waves. One of my favourite places here, and I think it's as important as any museum, is the Rialto fish market. It's got the freshest fish I've ever seen, and for a fish lover, it's a sheer delight. But now the developers want to get their hands on it because they say the local population is dwindling and this prime piece of property can do its job in a much cheaper area out of the city. Hence the defiant flags with a Venetian lion saying, "Rialto, do not touch." Luca Fulin is the son of a prominent hotel owner here. It's very nice to see the younger generation taking over, like it is with my sons. Although young, he's seen a few changes and feels the tide of tourism is getting ever stronger.
Do you feel proud to be Venetian?
Yes, I feel proud and I love this city. In the last years, a lot of people are leaving Venice. And the demographic numbers are going down, you know, from the 90s, 120,000 living here, and now we are only 55,000. But I want still to keep the traditional and the local products.
Why are people leaving then? Is it?
You know, the price of properties goes up, some tourism reasons, so that's why, you know, a lot of people are leaving. But especially for the properties price, you know, it goes up in the last years in a crazy way. But maybe at this point we need some more Venetian, you know, live in the city.
I said to Luca I wanted him to cook one of my favourite dishes of all time, that spaghetti vongole, pasta with clams.
Okay, so first of all, some olive oil. Then I will use a little garlic.
I was interested to see that he chose these clams Tellene. It showed to me that he knows a thing or two. They're so deliciously sweet.
Okay, now the Italians, they start to open. We use, there you go. We use a little bit of wine, okay?
Good.
So you see, they start to open one by one, you know. And they have inside a little bit of sea water. So this makes the dish even more intense, the taste. And then to use a little bit of broth, of sea bass broth.
So you're obviously enjoying this. When did you start cooking? How long have you been doing it for then?
Since I was very young, you know, with my grandmother first, she started to teach me how to cook. And this was one of the first dishes actually made me do at home, you know. So she gave me the passion for the kitchen.
Have you done any TV before?
No, never.
Well, it's a really good idea to do something you're very, very familiar with, because then you can concentrate on talking to me. So what's next then?
So after this, we are boiling the pasta.
And that's always boiling in every Italian kitchen, a pasta boiler.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Great. I need one of those.
I won't cook completely the pasta in the boiling water.
Yeah.
I want to end the pasta be cooked in the talim, so
that's
the
good.
pasta will get the flavor.
I remember the first time I tasted this years ago in Venice. I thought they've cooked that pasta in the broth, but you finish it in the broth.
Absolutely, that gives more flavor to the dish.
So that's how you get that sort of like very gleamy finish to this dish. Well, I never realised that before.
So here we are. Yeah, you can smell this good, huh? Smell it.
Luca chops up parsley and chives. That's what I like about making these programmes. You're always picking up new things. By finishing the pasta off in the pan, it gives it more depth of flavour and a better texture.
There we go. So you see how creamy is this pasta? It's fantastic.
I'm loving it.
So a little olive oil.
He finishes the dish off with grated bottarga. All the trendy chefs in Italy and around the Mediterranean are using this year's star product, bottarga. When I knew I was coming to Venice, I had to make a beeline for the Lido, that long stretch of sand and pine that shields Venice from the Adriatic. It's a place where the great and the good and the not so good came for centuries. Byron swam the length of it. In fact, he swam everywhere in Venice. And people like the Windsors would come here to bathe. Winston Churchill would sit on the beach chomping on a cigar, staring at the sea. D.H. Lawrence would get very grumpy over the displays of opulence and luxury. And Thomas Mann spied a striking Polish boy on the beach and turned him into the centrepiece of Death in Venice. These very expensive beach tents at the Grand Hotel Excelsior made it really easy for me to think of the knights and foot soldiers, all 35,000 of them, who were trapped here in 1202. They couldn't afford to pay the fare to the Venetians to ferry them to the Crusades.
Just looking down this row of tents, which are beach huts, they could have been the knights' tents. This is where they were camped. I bet it was just here. Then the Lido was just a strip of sand, but you could sort of imagine them in the early morning like this, sort of stumbling out of their tents, maybe some armour hanging up, probably in their vest, bit of chain mail, the odd horse hanging around, a fire going, thinking, where's our boat?
This famous hotel, the Excelsior, is almost an architectural statement of the journey I'm about to take. A mixture of West meets East. It was here I met up with Robin Saikia, a British writer who, like many before him, fell in love with Venice and the Lido in particular.
Ecco qua.
Oh, look at that.
Maestro.
Risotto coigo. Buon appetito.
Well, I know about this dish because it's made with little gobies, which are the sort of things little boys catch in rock pools back in Padstow. It is very typical of Venetian cooking. It's just quite sort of lowly ingredient.
They never overdo it. Very, very simple. Never more than 2 or 3 ingredients. The result is always fantastic.
Tell me about the Lido. I mean, it's such a total contrast to Venice itself, isn't it?
Completely. This stretch of land was where Venice really all began. You had this city 1,000 years ago starting from scratch. They had nothing but this wonderful beach and the island up at Torcello and the lagoon.
That was it?
That was it. And they had to survive and find a way of building this extraordinary city we see today. But it all started here. That's where the romantic origins of this city really are, out on this stretch of beach.
Oh, fab.
Prego.
Grazie.
And this is bigoli?
Bigoli in salsa.
Bigoli and salsa.
Bigoli in salsa. Buon
Grazie,
appetito.
maestro.
Thanks.
It's perfectly in order. If you dine at a Venetian, you will have 5 courses, all of them manageable like this.
Like this?
What you might call an elegant sufficiency. It's absolutely the right amount.
Well, it's just onion with a bit of anchovy in it.
The sweetness of the anchovies goes with the onion, pasta cooked to perfection. And, you know, what more could you want?
Well, I know you have a way of using your hands to say something's really special, which is, I think it's like one or.
Yeah, not bad. A bit Anglo-Saxon.
A bit like my dancing,
you'll
I
have
think.
to work on that, I think.
Scampi alla busara.
Oh. Oh, that looks good.
Look at that.
Wow. Fritto misto. Oh, great.
Buon appetito.
Grazie. This looks fab. I just love your book about the Lido. Just tell me how you came to write it and just the way you found the Lido in the first place.
Yeah, well, I used to come here as a kid when I was so high, but I was here on a school trip when I was about 15, and there were 10 of us. 2 of us got left behind after the trip finished, and we were staying over at the Seguso. Our art master said, there are 3 things I don't want you to do. Don't go to Harry's bar, don't drink grappa, and don't go to the Lido, because you'll be picked up and you'll end up dead in a swimming pool somewhere by Lake Garda. So anyway, that night, we went down to Harry's, drank a bucket full of grappa, came over, met a group of other young guys, piled into a car, down to Alberoni, on the beach, spent all night drinking wine and cooking fish on a wood fire on the beach.
Great.
And at that moment, I suddenly realised that there was this sort of unbuttoned paradise of a beach out here, only 15 minutes away from this museum city. So for me, it's a very romantic and very resonant place.
Left to my own devices, I like driving about in search of a good lunch. I just think I can spot a wholesome restaurant at about 400 yards. Cortula is a very fertile island, and these are the vines that make the grapes for the famous Gurk, the local white wine. It's spelt G-R-K. It's fabulous, but it's as rare as hen's teeth. I stopped at a little restaurant in the village of Pupnat, where Biljana and her mum cook local seasonal dishes. It's the middle of May, and the dish of the day here is baby goat stew with fresh peas. Whether you can find this in the height of the tourist season, I've no idea. But it's baby goat over fried onions and garlic and pancetta, and that's made locally in the village. Now, also from the village, white wine. Next, salt. Homer, the ancient Greek philosopher, not the one from The Simpsons, called it a divine substance. Pepper and cloves, a hint of the east there. And now Biljana's special tomato sauce. She makes this by reducing the fresh tomatoes with wine and olive oil very slowly, and makes huge batches of it while the tomatoes are plentiful and cheap. Now paprika for a little background heat. And last but one, parsley. Now, it's nearly done, except for the peas. I like the fact that these weren't your normal frozen ones. They had more of a pulse-like flavour.
I think it's her mum. She knows best. She's really keeping an eye on Biljana, making sure that she's doing it exactly in the family way. Is she? She is. Seal of approval. Very good.
I'm glad you like it.
Well, I tell you why I like it, because it tastes of where it comes from. We don't get enough goat meat back in the UK, but it is lovely. It's so different to lamb. It's sort of, and because it's young goat, it's very tender. What I also like about it, I sound like I'm a sort of one of those food, you know, in competitions. What I also like about it is the fact that the goat's got texture. It's not cooked till it's all mushy, and I love the peas in here because they're not like little frozen peas. They've got substance. They're a bit floury.
Floury, yeah.
And the paprika. Do you cook with a lot of paprika?
When cooking stews.
It's a very lovely stew, I must say.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad.
Marco Polo allegedly was born here in Korčula. I'm not sure the Venetians would agree with that, but what is certainly true is he was captured in a naval battle just off Korčula, the water out there between the Venetians and the Genoese. And he was imprisoned by the Genoese, and during that time, and this is very serendipitous, I think, he dictated the travels of Marco Polo to his cellmate. And I'm fairly certain without that time in prison, he wouldn't have bothered to dictate anything. He'd be too busy doing deals. And as it is, the book was electrifying to Europe because people just didn't know about the Orient. But the bit that appeals to me, allegedly, yes, allegedly, he brought pasta back to Europe. And I keep thinking, where would the Italians have got their spaghetti from otherwise?
Having a famous celebrity linked to a town means a great source of wealth for the community. Well, ask the people of Stratford-upon-Avon. So, Marco Polo, intrepid explorer and merchant, great sea captain, and the bringer of riches from the east, came from Korčula and not Venice. Well, I put the question with a smidgen of disbelief to a local, Tony Lositza.
Do you believe that Marco Polo was born here?
I do,
Good.
definitely. But it's not proven. That's one thing. So if I would say I don't believe, then they would actually probably burn me on a stake here in the middle of the square.
Fair enough. I can understand that. But he had business
There is
interests.
no evidence where he was born. That's actually the problem between Venice and us concerning Marco Polo. This is house of Marco Polo. So that's where he was standing and watching far down south, like, okay, where are my ships coming in? But basically, this house is built about 200 years after Marco Polo was born.
Well, you know, there's a lot of conjecture about Marco Polo. This may have been his house, it probably wasn't, everything about him. But how important was he to the Western world, I suppose?
To Western world, I think he was the most important because he opened the gates to the Orient, actually, for everyone. And he was definitely from Korčula.
I believe it. So nice here, though, I must say.
It is lovely.